Okay, so for those that don't know me, my name is Angie, and I'm the owner and CEO of Living Inspired Within. I'm a certified coach, speaker, and trainer, and I help women entrepreneurs gain clarity and direction around their goals and their dreams so they can realize their full potential, make more money, and live a life they love. So today we're going to discuss how relationships, your physical environment, and your feelings towards yourself and your day affect your mental health, and how you can best position yourself for a more peaceful life, because typically that is the goal. And so today we're going to spend about 30 to 45 minutes together. Again, if you have any questions, just pop them in the Q&A and we'll make sure to address those either throughout or at the end. And with that being said, we'll go ahead and get started. So everyday life has a lot of challenges, and the goal is to shift the way we cope or respond to them. So every one of us have a ton of stresses we're dealing with, whether it's at home, at work, in our business, in our relationships, and unfortunately, even in our own head. So our time together today is a time for you to consider new ways to handle the stress that you're dealing with and all of that's going on in a mentally healthy way with mindfulness and self-care, because you deserve to take good care of yourself. And I know some on the call may agree with that and believe that, and some may be working towards that. So I know you probably heard the term mindfulness and self-care, but you may or may not be completely familiar with them. So I went ahead and looked up the definitions so we can define them as we move forward. So mindfulness is the quality or state of being conscious or aware of something. And self-care is the regulatory function, which is under individual control. It's deliberate and self-initiated. So how many of you think you are mindful? So I'm going to launch a poll. You should see it. And let me know what you think. And all of the polls that I put in here, just so you know, they're anonymous. So it's not going to pop up and say, you know, who's responding what. So I wanted you to feel comfortable. So it looks like we have some that are mindful and some that have no idea. So this is good. That definitely helps as we move forward. We'll get you mindful. All right, so making mental health as much of a priority as physical health. So when it comes to being aware and in control of your mental health, mindfulness and self-care go hand in hand. But before we can start taking steps to control how our mind reacts to chaos and different situations, it's important to learn how to be conscious of the chaos around us and also how it's affecting us. And then once we're aware of that, then we can take measures to change or redirect our responses to that chaos or the stress. And unfortunately, historically, as a society, we really haven't been taught to give our mental health the attention that it deserves. There is a much larger focus typically on physical health rather than mental health. And as a result, we've learned to sweep issues under the rug. We grin and bear it through relationships that are not ideal. We overload our schedules because we don't feel comfortable saying no. And this definitely doesn't serve us or our mental health well. And not only that, does it not serve us well, but it also adds to the feeling of being overwhelmed and stressed out. So today we're going to work on learning how to change that. And then I have another poll. So let's see. Okay, so do you prioritize mental or physical health? So if you can vote there, that'll be interesting to find out. I know for me, I try to do both, but I really, my priority typically falls into physical, although I try to balance it. I'm working on that more. So I'm getting to a much better balanced position. And it looks like we're all split, which is fun. So hopefully you guys like these polls. I thought it was really helpful to be interactive and something that typically is not too interactive. So you can't fix a problem that doesn't belong to you. Whether we're born into families with difficult people or we find our way to them through friendships, partners, coworkers, whomever it may be, it's challenging to know how to respond to someone who brings negative feelings and unhappiness into our lives. So one of the first things when we're dealing with people that are negative or bring some type of distress or unhappiness into our life that we can do is realize that their behaviors and what their behaviors are and what they're presenting as are reflected at us, and they're not our fault. So the way that others are coping with their feelings is part of their mental health, and it's not a reflection of who we are. So in our family, we often say you can only control two things. You can control your own actions, and you can control how you choose to respond to a situation. Those are the only two things in your control, literally. So, and we say that over and over again in our family, and it's a really good practice just to remember what you have control over, and you don't have control over other people or how they're responding to things or how they're acting. So an example that I came up with, and it's a super simple example, but it's a good illustration as to how differently people can respond. If someone breaks a glass, for instance, just like a drinking glass, right, in the kitchen, one person may totally throw a fit. They may start cursing, it may ruin their day. And then the other person may just say, oh, that's unfortunate, pick up the glass and move on with their day. Same situation, totally different responses. And that response is a reflection of a person's personality, mental well-being, and ability to cope and positively reflect their own feelings. So it also depends on what's going on around them, right? So I may break a glass and have both of those responses depending on the day or depending on what I'm going through, right? And then you can help others with their issues. And as friends, and I know I went over the importance of community not too long ago, that's part of a positive friendship. A positive relationship is helping and being there for others, but you cannot fix their problems for them oftentimes. They have to work through that. So they have to walk through the process themselves and take accountability for their own situation and the solutions to their situation. So I know for some people and a lot of women, they will try to take these problems on themselves. And it's not healthy. It's not mentally healthy for us. It adds to the stress and the chaos of our lives, because not only are we carrying our own burdens, our own stresses, our own situations, but now we're carrying on, you know, 2 of our friends or 3 of our friends, and we're carrying their problems on and trying to fix them. So although it's great to be there for them, and that's obviously encouraged, if it's consistently affecting your life negatively or they're consistently bringing you down, you may need to take a step back from that relationship or recommend that they reach out to a professional. And that's okay. You know, it's okay to say, hey, you know, I don't know what else to tell you. Have you thought about talking to someone professionally? So I know that can be hard. Depending on your personality, that can be really hard. I know a lot of people are helpers and they really want to fix other people's problems with very good intentions, but often that can really overwhelm us or burden us. And then distancing yourself from those who bring more pain than joy. So one of the most important aspects of being mindful in the midst of chaos is taking measures to eliminate as much as the chaos as possible. So sometimes this can mean looking at our source of chaos and negativity and realizing that it's coming from people we surround ourselves with on a daily basis. So I encourage you all to take a step back and look at who you're interacting with on a daily basis, whether it be customers, kids, neighbors, spouses, colleagues, it could be employees, it could be bosses, people that you're interacting with daily. It could be your church group, it could be your pastor. Look at who you're interacting with daily and ask yourself if they're positively or negatively affecting your day to day. So even though we can't control every interaction we have, right? So if it's a boss or a colleague or a customer, we may not be able to control every single situation when it comes to our regular interactions. But it's our job and responsibility to develop firm and clear boundaries about what we will and will not tolerate in a relationship, and to make those known to others. So if you're finding that a customer is, really negative to you, or they're yelling at you because something's happening, it's okay to say, listen, whatever their name is, I really don't appreciate being spoken to like that. And I don't appreciate that. That's okay, because you're setting clear boundaries, and they need those boundaries, and you need those boundaries because you deserve better. And eliminating interactions with people who bring down your good energy actually leaves room for more positive energy to enter. And that's the goal, right? So we want more positivity, and we want to reduce the negative effect. Is someone trying to say something? Are we good? Okay. And you deserve to be treated well and to have positive, fulfilling relationships. And if you don't believe that, please reach out to me, because that's what we all deserve. So if you wouldn't subject someone else to that type of relationship, if it's not positive, don't subject yourself to it. So take charge of your time and set clear boundaries that serve you well in relationships. So this is all about finding out what works best for you. And these are ideas, but in everything that I always say, and every webinar I do, or anyone that I work with, we're going to talk about things that will work, right? And so you may have a list of things. If you can pick the top things that work really well for you, I encourage you to do so. Or if you say, okay, this is a good idea, but I need to tweak it because this is going to work better for me, absolutely do it. This is your life. This is your world, right? Whatever your belief may be, you may believe you get another, but in my belief, we have one shot at this. So whatever works best for you, absolutely do it, and take charge of your life. Break up with friends who don't support you. So this may sound really harsh, but not all friendships are meant to last forever, and that's okay. I'm not suggesting you casually discard friendships over minor disagreements or inconveniences, but you should give yourself permission to move on from relationships that don't support and nourish you, or don't support and nourish where you're going and your goals and your dreams. So recently for me, and I wanted to share this, I've taken the opportunity to reevaluate a lot of my relationships and my friendships. And if that relationship isn't mutually beneficial or positive for both of us, I've chosen to distance myself from those relationships or end them completely. So some I've just let them kind of fizzle out. And some people may think this is mean or severe, but with a limited amount of free time, this serves me really well. And it helps me value not only my time, but my friends' time. It helps me value me, and then the people that I do thrive with, and then we do positively support each other. I get to spend more time with them because it's less spread out. So I did that probably about a year or so ago, maybe a little bit longer. And it served me. So obviously my circle of friends shrunk, but it has served me really well. And when I get to spend time with my friends or my family, it's really quality time, and I'm present. And, a way to figure out if, you don't want to make a list of your friends, right, and cross them off. I'm not suggesting that. But if you feel exhausted just by the idea of hanging out with someone, or you make a plan with someone and you're kind of dreading it, it's possibly a sign that you need to evaluate that relationship and see if it's truly a win-win. And that's okay to do. It's not me. Take the space you need from toxic family members. So this is really important as we spend time, as we move into the holidays. And I know the holidays may look really different with COVID and with social distancing, or they may not in your family. And so I wanted to address this because friends are often hard enough to part ways with, but if you're dealing with family members within your family that are it's a toxic relationship, or it's not beneficial, or it's negative, right? So it doesn't have to be quote unquote toxic. It could just be negative. It can be even more difficult to deal with that and to part ways with it. So one of the best recommendations I could offer is to set limits on the amount of time you're interacting with those people that bring negativity or criticism into your life. So this may look like limiting the amount of time you spend at family events, or if you're at a family event and you're going to be there for a few hours, maybe making sure you're talking to someone else, or spending your time and looking for other things to occupy you, whether you're playing a game with another group of family members, so that your attention's on something else and you're not as available to them to talk to or receive their criticism or whatever it is, right? And if you do end up in a conversation with them, make sure that conversation's polite and pleasant, and keep it focused on them. So it may sound totally strange, but if you're focusing the conversation on them, you're creating a space where you're purposefully keeping yourself safe from unwanted drama, unwanted negativity, unwanted criticism, while you're also maintaining that relationship if that's what you want and need to do, either for yourself or for your family dynamic. So we're all on different paths. And I've realized this, and as I hang out with my friends and everything, we're all on totally different paths. You have a relationship of some level with every single person you've had an interaction with ever. That relationship can last a moment, it can last a lifetime, or anything in between. But in each relationship, you cross paths and you learn from one another. And I'm a firm believer of that, right? And since we're all on different paths, sometimes we walk together for a short time, sometimes we cross paths later on. And I'm a believer that people come and go out of our lives for a very specific reason at a very specific time. For instance, there's a reason why you're here with me today on this call. So thank you. There's a reason why we're having this conversation. I may never be privy to that reason. You may never be privy to the reason why you're here with me, right? And where that's beneficial for me. But there is a reason why we're on this call today. And know that throughout your life, there are many people you will meet, many people you will love, and many people you will learn from. But at the end of the day, you play a role in determining how long you walk along a path with them and how long you walk besides that person. It is your choice. It is your decision. So really, we want to make sure we're leading our lives and not just living through our lives, right? So lead them. It is your choice. It is your decision. Learning to say no. Okay, so I have another poll. Okay. So do you struggle with saying no? So there's a poll you can fill out, and I'll walk through this and then we'll look at the results. But in order to cut down on chaos in your life, if you make your mental health a priority by keeping your plate filled with just the right amount of work and activities that you can handle, it's going to benefit you. Sometimes this means saying no. And this is something I've struggled with in the past. I struggle with less now. I'm walking, right? I'm leaning into learning to say no, and I'm saying no more often, and it's serving me well. You may feel guilty the first time you turn someone down if they ask you for favors or ask you to do something, either personally or professionally, but it does get easier with time. And as you start opting out of things, it's really good to remind yourself why you're saying no. It's not that you don't want to be with that person or you don't want that experience. Often you're saying no so you can say yes to things that you do want to spend your time and energy on. So just remind yourself of that, because there's not enough time for you to do everything. So you have to pick and choose. You have to prioritize where and how you want to spend your time. If you struggle saying no, try it. Once you start saying no, you will be liberated. You will feel liberated. I promise you. We're split again. I love it. I love differencing of opinions. I think it's amazing. And I think that we can all learn from that. So we're all split. as far as saying no. And my answer would be sometimes. So I may be the tiebreaker. Bowing out of social situations that are stressing you out. I think we've all sat through awkward and draining interactions. So if you can ever think of a time, and I can think of a time in my head, the feeling of just wanting to get the heck out of Dodge, right? You just want to get out of there. Or you're looking at the clock or your watch as you're in a conversation and you cannot wait for it to end. You're watching the minutes tick by. There is a fine line between being polite and saving yourself from the stress of staying too long. And it can be really difficult to draw that line in the sand. Here's a good, kind of a good line in the sand or a good tip that you can use. If you spend 5 minutes chatting with someone and don't really, either the situation's uncomfortable or the conversation is, 5 minutes is polite. 10 minutes is more than enough to spend time. Any longer than that, and you have every right to excuse yourself. So my recommendation is to rock on, excuse yourself, get out of that situation or conversation you don't want to be in, and go find your happy place. And I'm adding this, I wish I didn't have to, but I don't know everyone's situation. Like I mentioned, I am putting this on the YouTube channel so people can watch it as a replay, as a resource throughout the holidays. But if you ever feel you're in danger, or if you are speaking to someone that is acting racist or misogynistic or obscene, I don't care if it's been 2 seconds or 2 hours or 20 minutes or 2 minutes, whatever it is, just say, excuse me, I've got to go, and walk away. And in my opinion, I think you should pretty much run the opposite direction. So I wish I didn't have to say that, but unfortunately in the world that we are living in, we do. Surround yourself with people that support you. So now that we've talked about ways to eliminate external stress and chaos in your life, this is a really good time to remind ourselves and each other how important it is to keep people close who love and support you, who encourage your endeavors, who bring positivity into your life and to your mind. It's really important to create a sense of community around you. And for many of us, it can feel like there may be no one that fits into this category. And I get being an entrepreneur can be a really lonely endeavor sometimes. I totally get it. And I agree. If that's the case for you, I would consider reaching out to support groups in your area or online for people that have the same interests as you. This could be a Facebook group. Oh, by the way, this was not intended to be a plug, but we have a Facebook group. If you're not part of it, I'll put it in the chat at the end. So join us at Women Living Inspired Within. It's a great community of women. So find a Facebook community, find an accountability group or an accountability person that you can strategize with, meet with, collaborate with, or look on meetup.com and find a group of women or people in your community with like interests. But it's important to have community. Any positive connections we can curate will bring peace to our mind. And oh, by the way, it makes life so much more fun. And it is really easy as an entrepreneur, to get stuck in our offices. There's so much online. We have the pandemic, right? There's online meetings, there's all this stuff. It's really easy to get in that rut where we're not getting out, or not communicating with people or not picking up the phone. So I encourage you to be really intentional about creating and making sure you surround yourself with that community, especially now. And as a reminder, if you want to walk through the importance of community, a webinar I did, I think it was last month or the month before, on the importance of community is there on my YouTube channel, and you can watch it if you want to review that. I encourage you to do so. So now we're done talking about other people and how they either positively or negatively affect your mind. We're going to next take a look at the space around you and your physical, right? What's physically around you. If you've ever watched HGTV, and I know we all have, whether you want to admit it or not, it's actually one of my husband's favorite channels. But you know how much a physical space can impact someone's mental well-being but also just calmness, right? And there's feng shui and there's all these things, there's colors and how a house flows and all of that. So whether it's a cluttered bedroom or a poorly lit office space, wherever you're spending time in your day can directly impact your psychological health. So there are 3 quick tips to make your space feel better. They are simple and easy, yet really, really effective. So 1 is ditch the clutter. If you're looking around and you're sitting at your desk and your desk is totally cluttered and there's things everywhere, whether or not you realize it, it negatively affects your psychology. So if you can create some type of organizing or put the stuff away in drawers or files, it will really help you. Or if there's stuff sitting on countertops, if you can find a place for them, it will really positively impact your physical environment. Add more light to your space, whether it's your office, whether it's your living room, wherever it is, add more light. And this doesn't have to be a harsh overhead light. I love a lamp. So add a lamp with a little shade. I just actually moved my office upstairs. I need to look for a lamp. I don't have one. So I will be adding more light up here. And adopt a plant. Anything living you can have around you is really helpful. So if you have a little plant, a little bamboo are really difficult to kill. Cactus are really difficult to kill. If you can't tell, I have a black thumb. So I would recommend one of those or some type of plant. Create good energy with positivity reminders. So when you're looking at your space, whether it be your office, your bedroom, or another place in your home, if you bring in colors, pictures, quotes, or anything else that brings you joy when you look at it, it can totally transform that space, and it's really easy to do. So this can be a brightly colored pillow, a framed quote, or picture of your friends or family, or even a piece of furniture you love. So you can go to Hobby Lobby or TJ Maxx and get, little framed quotes. I have one in my office, said good things are coming your way. So that's a good reminder. I have what I call my special room in my house, and it's a room with no TV. And I have a chair in my special room I absolutely adore. It was a splurge. I got it at Pottery Barn. I love it. It's amazing to cuddle up in and read. And I used warm and inviting colors in my special room. So to me, that room literally equates my morning quiet time and a cup of coffee. And it's where I find myself if I need to take a break from the daily mayhem or just take a minute to myself. I go there and it's my happy place. And there's no TV. So generate positivity by spreading compliments. So one of my favorite ways to create positivity is to spread it. And the more you spread it, the more you'll receive it back, right? So it's like you're manifesting a positive environment because you're putting it out there. And I love that. So if you can consciously take the time out of each day to do something kind for someone or compliment a stranger or even just smile at someone, it makes a huge difference. And I am a believer, what you put out in the world is what you get back. So for me, I take this challenge every time I exercise outside. I live close to a trail and I will often run, or my favorite is cycle. Cycling's my happy place. And I make it a challenge and it's like this little game. I love it. I smile and either say good morning or have a great day. Hope you have a great day as I'm passing by someone. 99% of the time, they respond and say, have a great day too, or good morning. And they smile back at me. It's the smallest thing. And I cannot tell you how much joy it brings into my day. It makes my whole morning. And sometimes, I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, what a little thing. And I feel exhilarated after that. So again, don't make it hard. I can guarantee you the person bagging your groceries, walking their dog in your neighborhood, or whoever's walking into your house coming home from work or school needs to hear a kind word. So spread joy. It is free and it's totally amazing for everyone involved. It's little, but it makes such a huge positive impact. So think about how you're thinking about others as well. as we're reducing chaos, right? And we're finding calm in our mind and in our situations. So think about whether or not you ever find yourself being judgmental towards others or a situation. Be honest with yourself. And then next time you catch yourself doing it, pause, shift your thoughts into something positive about that person or that situation. And it will totally change the way you see them or the situation. I also would encourage you to challenge yourself and ask yourself why you're judging that person when you know, or hopefully you know, you should be celebrating them, collaborating with them, or learning from them. Another one of the things we say in our house is you never know what's going on behind closed doors. So you don't know what that person is going through personally, and they may need your support. They may need your encouragement. It may make a huge difference to their day and or their life. Either way, I can guarantee you they don't need or deserve to be judged, and neither do you. So let's go back to looking at manifesting and abundance, right? What you put out there is what you're going to get back. So we'll go back to the golden rule. It's, again, really basic, and we know this, but these are really good reminders. Do unto others as you wish to be done unto you, right? So you want to treat others like you want to be treated. I know I don't want to be judged. I want people to cheer me on. I want people to encourage me. So instead of thinking negatively, actually say something out loud positive about them and or their accomplishment or their situation. Believe it or not, this will help retrain your brain. And the more you do this, and the more you realize that you're having those negative thoughts or saying negative things, you'll be able to correct it and you'll make a complete paradigm shift. So a couple of years ago, I did something where it was like, it was a challenge. No negative words, it was 28 days, no negative words, no judging, no judgmental thoughts, no judging statements or sentences. And it was a really good challenge, and it totally reprogrammed my brain, because if you didn't succeed for a day, you had to go back to day one. So it ended up being a couple month challenge, in all honesty. All right, so let's go. We have, okay, so negative self-talk. Look in the poll and you'll see, do you struggle with negative self-image or negative self-talk? So check in and think about how you speak with yourself, or how how you're talking to yourself. We have some yeses. So the reality is we're often our own worst critics. And after decades of being unkind to ourselves, it can really take a toll on our mental health, and we start to believe the awful things we're thinking or saying about ourselves. And I say that because, we really need to learn to be kind to ourselves. And if you wouldn't say it to someone else because it's mean or unkind, then you surely should not be saying it to yourself. You deserve better than that. You need to treat yourself better than that. You need to speak more kindly about yourself. So if something negative comes to mind, acknowledge it and tell yourself to stop, because you deserve better. I may sometimes sound like a complete crazy person, but if I'm thinking, right, because this is something realistically I've struggled with, and I continue. I mean, I've made leaps and bounds as to where I was years ago, but I still have work to do in this category. So if I find myself thinking or saying something negative about myself, or if I'm looking in the mirror and I'm like, oh, that, instead of embracing the way my body is changing, I'm like, oh, things look better 5 or 10 years ago. I will stop myself and say, stop it, Angie. This is ridiculous. You're being ridiculous. And now you may think I sound like a crazy person, and that's okay, because if it helps you at all, it's done its job. And for me, it stops me in my tracks, because it is ridiculous and it is unkind and it's not right. So if I take a minute to yell at myself, right? It sounds a little counterintuitive, I get it. But if I take a minute to yell at myself and say, stop, this is ridiculous, I stop, and then I reframe what I was thinking. So if I'm thinking, oh, I need to lose weight, right? Then I'm like, stop it, this is ridiculous. Hey, you're toning up, or you look really great for whatever age you are. You look really great. You've been working out. You look really healthy. You have a happy smile, whatever it is, right? So reframe it and be kind to yourself. So I'm going to challenge you. The next time you look in your mirror or start thinking destructive thoughts about yourself, stop and list out a few things you're grateful for and things that you like about yourself. So things you're grateful for and things you like about yourself, about your body, your mind, your soul, whatever it is, things you like about yourself. So look in the mirror next time and say how great your butt or your thighs look. Look in the mirror and repeat the positive affirmations you've adopted out loud. Look in the mirror and tell yourself how proud you are of yourself. Look in the mirror and tell yourself how strong you are. The list goes on and on and on. Be kind to yourself. And this, again, with practice, you'll train yourself to honor your body and your soul, and you totally deserve that. So it looks like we're about 50-50. And some of us struggle sometimes, some of us struggle in general with negative self-talk. No one said no. And I think that's the reality for everyone out there, and especially women. It's something we struggle with, and quite frankly, we need to get better at, because we surely wouldn't say that to our friends, right? Hopefully we wouldn't. So we shouldn't say that to ourselves. All right. And now we are going to talk about using your breath as a tool, and using your body as a tool to combat stress. So there's a lot of ways that we can start creating a world around us that brings positivity into our lives and pushes negativity out. The reality is stress is still going to find a way to creep in, whether we want it to or not, right? So I don't invite stress into my life, but it sure as heck still happens. And so we need to be able to work through that and cope with it. So when that happens, I recommend focusing on your breathing. Slow it down and breathe slow and steady with a brief pause in between exhales and inhales, right? So often I'll breathe in for 5 counts, hold my breath, and then I breathe out for 5 counts. And I'll do this for 2 or 3 minutes. I recommend doing it with your eyes closed and when you're feeling stress or overwhelm creep up. What's great about this is you can do it anytime, anywhere, except for when you're driving. Please do not close your eyes and do your breathing technique when you're driving. It is not a good idea. Feel free to pull over. Don't close your eyes while you're driving. That's my disclaimer. But honestly, you can do it any other time, right? It's super easy to do, and it makes such a difference because in essence, you're just removing yourself from that situation or that whatever's causing you stress, and you're taking a break from it. And you're taking a moment to focus on the present and focus on your body and still your mind. So once you learn to recognize as your stress bubbles up, you can see it and you can address it quickly. And it will also change the way you're responding to that stress, because you have the time to kind of take a minute and breathe and come up with a positive response to that situation. And if you have more time than a couple minutes, feel free, practice a full meditation. It doesn't have to be a full hour, 30 minutes, whatever. It can be 10 minutes. Meditate. Find something that works for you. This is all about something that works for you. Exercise is great. I know I was speaking with one of you in the beginning. You just finished your exercise. I'm a huge proponent of exercise. I work out in the mornings about 5 or 6 days a week. It is how I get through my week. I look forward to it. And it helps me get through my day and start on a very positive note. If exercise is great. If you were looking for exercise that connects your body and your mind, yoga is something I highly recommend you try if you've not tried it, because it focuses so much on your breath. The asanas, which are the movements or poses, turn the practice into almost like a moving meditation. And yoga has been proven to combat stress. So I practice yoga once a week. I should probably do it more. I'm one of those, I like to exercise. I like to sweat a ton. And I always honestly kind of discount yoga. And I'm like, oh, it's not as good of a workout. It's a really amazing workout depending on what kind of yoga you do, both mentally and physically. So when I do yoga, I love doing it outside, because then I get the benefits not only of the mental and physical exercise, but I get the benefits of fresh air, which do wonders for us. And if you've not tried yoga and you want to, there's a ton of free yoga practices you can try on YouTube. I usually will do yoga with Adrienne. She's kind of quirky. I'm not super serious, which fits my personality much better, in case you can't tell. So I really like her. There's a ton of free options. If you haven't tried it, I highly recommend it. And now you have no excuse, because it's free and it's on YouTube. So if yoga is not your thing, that's fine. Although I really think you should try it. But whether or not you want to explore yoga, you can find something else that serves as an outlet and helps focus your mind on the present moment. And that helps you, when you're feeling stressed, turn to the present and create calm, right? So whether it's cooking, listening to jazz, crafting, coloring, petting your dog, tending to a garden or houseplant, whatever it is, take the time in your day to bring your mind away from anxiety and back into the present moment. That is what mindfulness is all about. So I'm going to say that again. Take the time in your day to bring your mind away from anxiety and back to the present moment. That is what mindfulness is all about. So be present. If you pull yourself away from anxiety, it's important, because with anxiety, you're just worrying about something that may or may not even occur, right? You're worrying about a what if this may occur, or you're worrying about something you have no idea about, right? Be present and focus on what is currently going on in front of you. Focus on what you can control instead of worrying about something that you have zero control over. Focus on what you can control. Don't worry about things that may or may not be. So again, another saying in our house, we have lots of them clearly. Be present where you are. Be where your feet are. That just means be present, right? Get away from stress for a minute and do something that feeds your soul. This doesn't have to be an hour. You don't have to take an hour out of your day. It could be 5 minutes or so and totally do the trick. So find something. Find an outlet. And give yourself time to feel your feelings. So even, we've been talking about learning and exploring different ways to cope with stress. The goal isn't to distract yourself from stress. Instead, it's best to find ways to take that stress and release your thoughts, your worries, and your anxieties. This is really important during this really unprecedented time, right? We've never been through anything like what we're going through right now with the pandemic. We're all going through a lot of change and a lot of stress, some more than others. But often, if you can find a way to cope with stress, find a way to cope with anxiety. So for me, I mentioned cycling earlier. I'll often head out for a bike ride or do something fun with my son. Know what brings you happiness and use it as a break. If I get super stressed, I'm running multiple businesses, and I get super stressed, or I'm having one of those days, I feel like nothing's going right, I'm so frustrated, I literally will just say, okay, I'm out, I'm going on a bike ride for 30 minutes, I'll be back. And taking that time in fresh air and biking, I come back a totally different person, and it's really helpful. So I strongly encourage you to have an outlet that you know, so that you almost don't have to think about it. You feel all the stress, and if you can take that time, I encourage you to take it and run with it. And then if you feel the need and you have the means to connect with a mental professional and you feel like that's what you need, then absolutely, I highly recommend you do that. That can be really helpful. Just having a professional to talk to can really help. Otherwise, try writing your thoughts in a journal, because when you get them out of your mind and onto paper as solid thoughts, it helps you gain a whole new perspective on things, right? Or talk to someone, talk to your spouse, talk to someone in your family, because when you get their thoughts out of your head and they come out of your mouth or get written down on paper, it really does help you see things in a totally new perspective. Keep a gratitude journal. So one of the best ways to train your brain to think more positively is, is to practice gratitude regularly. So if you start a gratitude journal and write down a handful of things you are grateful for every day, that can be really great for you. Gratitude actually rewires our brains, so we become more likely to focus on the positives in the world rather than the negatives. This helps us become more open to the good. And when you keep up with the practice of a gratitude journal, it becomes a habit and you reap the rewards of a positive outlook on life. It's literally a game changer. So I recommend write down, a handful of things you're grateful for every day or every morning. And then spend some time getting to know yourself. So this is our last poll. Spend some time getting to know yourself. As we come to our end of our time together today, I've saved the most important, in my opinion, piece of advice for last. So most important for last. Dedicate time to learn how to love yourself. When you spend time with yourself and your thoughts, it can do wonders for your confidence and the way you see yourself and also the world. So sometimes the best way to practice self-love is to learn how to enjoy your own company. You can take yourself out to a movie or dinner, or even go on a solo trip, right? A little day trip, or heck, if you could do an overnight by yourself in a hotel, do it and take yourself to dinner. That to me sounds a little bit like a dream. Or if those things make you uncomfortable, right? I know some people that have said, I will never go to dinner by myself. That's okay. Find something that does feel comfortable for you or that you can do. That may be starting with a cup of coffee or a moment of silence by yourself, taking a bubble bath, right? Once you learn how to love and cherish yourself and your worth, everything else starts falling into place, because then you start to believe and understand that you do deserve amazing things and you are worth it. At this point in my life, I love having time to myself, whether it's a moment at home by myself when the boys are gone. I have the whole house to myself. It's like heaven sometimes. Taking my weekly scheduled bubble bath, or the hour I get to myself every single morning with my cup of coffee. It's all important to me. It's important to me for my well-being. It's important for my mind, and it's important for my sanity. So what it does with this time, and the more I get to know myself and the more I take the time by myself, it helps me be a better mother, a better wife, a better entrepreneur, and a better contributor to society. I highly encourage yourself to get to know you better. Okay, so we're kind of split. Alone time, what is that? And then when I can squeeze it in, right? So I think we really need to focus on making getting to know yourself and spending time by yourself a priority. And then thank you. We have reached the end of our time together, but I know that is the beginning of your journey towards a more positive and mindful life. If you have questions or want any information about anything we've discussed, you can reach out to me at livinginspiredwithin@gmail.com. I'm going to take this off so I can see you and I'll stop sharing. So you can reach me there. And if you haven't had the opportunity to join our Facebook group, I encourage you to do so. It's under Women Living Inspired Within. We have an awesome group of women that support and motivate each other, and we're all trying to get to where we want to be. So we would love it if you would join us. If this topic resonated with you and it's something that you want more information on different ways to get inspired or to inspire your life, check out the YouTube channel. It's Living Inspired Within, and I'll put the note below. But thank you, ladies, for joining. It's been a pleasure being here with you, and I hope you all have a great day. Thank you. Thanks, Ruth. Thanks, Maria. I know Kelly left us one too. Thank you. Bye, ladies. Bye.